She texted, "Tell your mom to back off or I'll tell everyone I'm having your baby." I called her bluff and texted back, "I had a vasectomy 2 years ago." Her silence was deafening, but the real drama started when I sent that screenshot to her parents. I, Thayer, 38, a patent litigation specialist, had been with Vela, 37, a luxury event planner, for 7 years. We were not married but lived together in a rented apartment. We lived in Chicago, Illinois. I appreciated the city for its stable legal market, but Vela only saw it as a temporary backdrop for her elaborate social life. Our combined income was very high, but Vela's relentless focus on expensive trips and high-status social events made saving difficult. I made about $280,000, and Vela made about $120,000. We rented a high-end apartment with a view in the Gold Coast area. Our life was defined by Vela's constant demand for visible success and social affirmation. We often ate at exclusive spots like Alinea. Our friends were mostly Vela's superficial event planning colleagues and her massive, image-driven social circle. They constantly validated Vela's belief that life must be lived publicly and lavishly. I felt like the quiet, dependable provider who was constantly mocked for being too practical. I wanted to move into high-level, international intellectual property law and corporate strategy. Vela wanted me to remain a stable, high-income local lawyer to fund her current, expensive lifestyle. My career was successful, but locally focused on domestic patent disputes. I was excellent at complex litigation, but I was ready for a jump into global strategy. I wanted to apply my skills to high-stakes, international IP protection for major tech firms. I was quietly interviewing for executive roles that offered massive global scope. Vela was openly dismissive of my professional drive. She often called international law boring passport stamping and implied my focus on complex contracts made me stuffy and unromantic. She valued my income, but ridiculed my ambition for greater intellectual purpose. The opportunity that presented itself was a massive career zenith. It was with a major, international technology conglomerate. The role was Chief Intellectual Property Officer, EMEA and APAC. The location was London, England. This was a huge global move, a leap into the highest tier of my profession. The compensation package was enormous. The base salary was $650,000 annually, with substantial tax benefits due to the posting structure. They included an immediate, substantial signing bonus of $200,000. The benefits included fully paid, luxury executive housing in the Kensington area, private health coverage, and a guaranteed annual performance bonus of 50%. This was the opportunity that secured a future of immense financial power and global prestige. I decided to present the offer to Vela over a weekend dinner. I was immensely proud of the achievement. I thought the Chief IP Officer title and the massive financial figures would finally earn her respect. "Vela, look at this. I got the offer. It's the top role. It's a complete pivot to global IP law," I said, handing her the formal offer letter. She was taking pictures of her dinner plate for social media. She barely glanced at the paper. "Is it another one of your boring legal contracts, Thayer? Or is it something that can finally get us into that exclusive Hamptons rental this summer?" she asked, already dismissive. "It's Chief Intellectual Property Officer, EMEA and APAC. It's with a massive international tech firm. The location is London." She scanned the salary figure. Her eyes widened, but then her face settled into cold disapproval. $650,000, that's an absurd salary, but London, Thayer, that's thousands of miles away. My entire client base is here. My networking is here. I have a whole social structure built in Chicago. I can't leave all that for some legal desk job in a cloudy city. You could focus on international event planning. This is IP law at the highest global level. We would be completely financially secure for life in 5 years. This is about building immense wealth and legacy, not just funding a social calendar. Building a life that is completely disconnected from my reality. My status is here. My success is here. You expect me to throw away my life and my friends for a title in a foreign city? You're so typically focused on your logic. You always prioritize your career over my emotional needs. Just say no, Thayer, I'm not moving. She pushed the paper away. Her contempt was clear. She confirmed her priority. Her local, image-driven lifestyle and social status were more important than my executive ambition or our shared, long-term financial freedom. I was merely a steady income to support her current image. The final insult and clear sign of her manipulative nature came 3 days later, after a small argument with my mother about Vela's spending habits. My mother had been politely suggesting Vela curb her extravagant purchases. Vela texted me, unaware I had been preparing for an escape for weeks. "Tell your mom to back off, or I'll tell everyone I'm having your baby." I called her bluff immediately. I had been planning my escape for weeks, and this text was the final piece of proof I needed. "I had a small, private surgery 2 years ago," I texted back. "I had a vasectomy 2 years ago." Her silence was deafening. But the real drama started when I sent that screenshot to her parents. Update 1. I did not say no to the international technology conglomerate. I accepted the offer immediately after the text exchange. I signed the contracts and secured the massive signing bonus. Her blatant attempt at emotional blackmail and her clear plan to trap me would not dictate my professional destiny. My plan became entirely secret and meticulously detailed. It was a complete, rational phantom operation. The next few weeks were tense but outwardly controlled. I did not mention the text exchange again. Vela was quiet, unsure if I was angry or simply processing the threat. I would try to bring up the job again, framing it as an imminent, necessary discussion. "The executive housing allowance in London is fantastic. We could live in a luxury flat near Hyde Park," I suggested one evening. "I told you, Thayer, I'm not discussing it. It's too soon. I need time to think about such a huge commitment." "Let's focus on the party we planned next week. That's real life," she replied, her voice firm. "But this job is massive. This is Chief Intellectual Property Officer. It's a $650,000 base salary." "Then you wait. If you truly value me, you can wait for me to be ready. That's what a real partner does." "You are being selfish again, prioritizing your title over my social life." She repeated the commitment line often. It was her attempt at leverage. Her friends, who relied on her social status, supported her fully. At a dinner party, a colleague of Vela's, Chloe, pulled me aside. "Thayer, you're being ridiculous. London, Vela is right. You need to wait for her. It's so much more important to prioritize your relationship over a temporary salary bump," Chloe said, giving me a patronizing look. "This salary is $650,000 tax-advantaged. This is generational wealth. Waiting for this offer to expire is financial negligence," I replied simply. "You're a lawyer. You don't understand real emotional connection. Vela has to come first. If you go, you're proving you don't value her at all. You're just proving her right about you being boring." Their collective judgment was the final piece of the puzzle. They all believed in their flimsy, anti-ambition philosophy. I realized my escape was necessary and irreversible. I began my meticulous planning immediately. First, the finances. I spent hours with a specialized international financial advisor. I opened a new private banking account in Zurich. I changed my direct deposit information. I routed almost all of my paycheck, including the $200,000 signing bonus, into the new offshore account. I kept only enough money flowing into our joint account to cover minimal bills and her fixed allowance. Vela was terrible with money details. She would not notice the decreased flow. I meticulously documented all joint debts and assets, which were minimal besides the condo equity. Next came the logistics. I spent my days researching executive housing options near my future office. I found a superb, fully serviced apartment in the Kensington area. It was high-end and secure. I secured a long-term lease entirely in my name. The company's relocation team managed the details. I used a few vacation days for a quick trip, claiming I was visiting a sick relative out of state. I handled all the necessary paperwork. I started to dismantle my life in Chicago secretly. I boxed up my legal texts and all my personal documents. I used a professional storage unit located far from our usual routes. I told Vela I was selling old legal research papers online. She barely noticed the missing items. She was too focused on an upcoming social media launch. I secured my visa and work permits for the United Kingdom. The process was lengthy and involved. I kept all the paperwork hidden. My focus was absolute. I was preparing for a complete, clean break. I secured a reputable lawyer specializing in high net worth international separation. The last piece of my planning was the termination of the relationship. I timed my departure to coincide with a major event Vela was planning. I finished packing my final bags. I had already filed the separation papers. I changed the smart lock code to our condo. I left the detailed separation letter taped to the door. I was gone before dawn. She would wake up to the sound of my taxi leaving and the truth waiting for her. The comfortable life she sought to control was now permanently over. Update 2. Vela woke up to a cold, empty apartment. She tried her key. It didn't work on the smart lock. The deadbolt was changed. She found the separation letter taped to the door. Inside the envelope was the notarized separation paper. The letter was brief and factual. It stated that the relationship was terminated due to her sustained contempt for my professional ambition, her explicit attempt at blackmail, and her dishonest nature. It confirmed my immediate move to London as Chief Intellectual Property Officer, EMEA and APAC. It provided my lawyer's contact information. I had also enclosed the full, printed text exchange about the vasectomy and the fake baby. Her immediate reaction was a furious explosion of anger. She somehow found an old email address and sent me a barrage of hostile messages. "You're insane. You locked me out of my own home. I'm calling the police, Thayer. That text was a joke. You are a cold, unfeeling robot," she wrote. "That was just a stupid thing to say. I was upset. You will pay for this public humiliation." "You are destroying my career," another read, full of fury. I instructed my lawyer to reply once, explaining that my decision was based on her refusal to commit, the documented contempt for my ambition, and the clear attempt at extortion. The lawyer added that all further communication must go through his office. Then came the desperate bargaining. She shifted tone dramatically. She emailed my lawyer pleading her case. She claimed she would quit her job and move to London immediately. She promised to never speak to my mother again. I instructed my lawyer to ignore her entirely. This was followed by a period of performative depression. I heard through mutual friends that she was posting cryptic, heartbroken messages online. She was seeking massive sympathy. She was telling everyone that I was a financially irresponsible lunatic who ran off for a ridiculous, low-level job in a distant country. She claimed I was mentally unstable. Finally, the spike of pure anger returned. She threatened lawsuits. She threatened to contact my new company's leadership and claim I was unstable. My lawyer preemptively sent her lawyer a letter detailing her behavior and the clear, documented reasons for the split, including the text evidence. The legal threats faded quickly. There was nothing for her to claim as my major assets were already safely separated. My moving day was completely absent of conflict. I was already working in London. Vela had moved in with her friend Chloe. I felt a tremendous sense of liberation. It was the quiet calm of a life decisively saved. My new life in London was incredibly demanding but profoundly rewarding. The city was a blend of high-speed finance and vibrant culture. My job as Chief Intellectual Property Officer was complex and engaging. I led an elite team focused on multi-billion-dollar IP protection strategies. I was respected for my analytical rigor and my strategic vision. I began thriving immediately. I joined an executive squash club and explored the beautiful parks surrounding the city. I made professional friends who respected my ambition. My work success was immediate and profound. My team secured 2 major high-value IP protection mandates. Within 9 months, the corporation realized massive security gains. I received the guaranteed 50% performance bonus. It was for $325,000 entirely tax-advantaged. I used this cash, combined with my savings, to purchase a beautiful, modern Mews house in the Holland Park district. It was a tangible, undeniable victory. The lies Vela had been spreading back home began to unravel. She was telling everyone that I was a struggling analyst. She claimed I took a low-level temporary research job. Thayer, your cousin called me. Vela is saying you're a nobody in London. Is that true? My aunt asked cautiously. She told my co-workers you're doing basic contract review in a foreign back office, a former colleague wrote. I ignored her friends and was polite but brief with my family. I knew the truth would be the ultimate corrective. I waited until my one-year anniversary at the firm. I made a highly controlled public post on LinkedIn. The post was simple and professional. I celebrated my successful first year as Chief Intellectual Property Officer, EMEA and APAC. I mentioned the firm's record IP security wins and the challenging but rewarding environment. The title, the high-level description, and the firm's prestige were undeniable. The news spread like a shockwave. My old network and Vela's friends were stunned. The flood of emails and texts was immense. Chief IP Officer, Thayer, Vela told us you were just an administrative assistant. I'm so sorry we believed her, a mutual friend confessed. Your firm is one of the top in the world. I apologize for what I said before. You're brilliant, Chloe, the friend, wrote, suddenly impressed by the success. My family was universally proud. They validated my decision and expressed quiet anger at Vela's deception. Then she showed up. I was leaving my office tower on a Friday evening. A luxury sedan stopped and Vela stepped out. She looked glamorous, but her eyes held a desperate, calculating plea. Thayer, I had to see you. I saw your post. The house is incredible. I had no idea the job was this prestigious, she said, her voice breathy. You didn't know because you chose to believe I was a failure to justify your unwillingness to commit. You openly tried to blackmail me with a lie about a baby, I replied simply. I've changed, Thayer. I've grown up. I realize the importance of ambition. I want to move in. I can start looking for international event consulting work immediately. I'll support you completely. You've changed. Did you change when you called my dream boring and stuffy? Did you change when you were trying to use a fake baby to control me? You claimed you weren't ready to commit to my future. Now that my future is financially successful and globally prestigious, you are suddenly ready to commit to it. Vela insisted she was genuine. I love you, Thayer. I missed you. You miss this, I said, gesturing to the gleaming city around us. You don't miss me. Your circumstances have changed. Mine have risen dramatically. The lack of commitment and the blackmail were your fatal flaws. The answer is no. You are not moving in. The separation is final. I rejected her firmly. She escalated legally immediately. Her lawyer sent formal letters claiming entitlement to my London property. All shut down logically by my lawyer. All my major assets were legally separate and acquired in a separate country. Her claims were dismissed as frivolous. Exhausted, she launched a social media campaign. She posted long, emotional narratives about my supposed heartless abandonment. Back home, mutual friends called her out. Even allies turned against her. 1 year later, I was thriving fully. My salary was now well over $800,000 with the profit share. I had purchased a small investment property in Lisbon. My career was accelerating. I was in a stable, respectful relationship with Anya, a brilliant corporate strategist. Our relationship was based on mutual ambition and clear communication. X admits regret in final message, says sorry. I received one final short message from Vela. It was sent to a secure email address. I was wrong. I see that now. I truly regret losing you and the life we could have had. I am sorry, Thayer. My reply was brief and final. It was the only thing necessary for closure. I accept your apology, Vela. I am doing very well. Final update. I was back in the United States for a brief, high-level meeting with my firm's corporate counsel in New York. I was now one of the most visible leaders in my industry. I received an unexpected phone call from Mr. Douglas, Vela's father. He asked if I would meet him and his wife, Mrs. Douglas, for a quick private dinner. I agreed. I had always respected them. We met at a quiet corporate dining room. They looked older and carried a quiet sadness about them. The conversation started awkwardly. Thayer, we saw your profile. It's incredible. We are immensely proud of what you've built, Mr. Douglas said. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. We wanted to apologize, not for her, but for us, Mrs. Douglas added, her voice soft. We saw the truth. The blackmail attempt, the contempt, the complete lack of support for your brilliance. We realize now that we enabled her sense of entitlement and her focus on the superficial social life. We taught her that the aesthetic, the social status, the constant travel were the only things that mattered. We taught her to dismiss true, quiet ambition like yours, Mr. Douglas continued. She never learned to commit to anything that wasn't immediately comfortable or socially approved. You showed her the ultimate consequence of that failure. We raised her wrong, Thayer. We are so sorry we did not support you. Their apology was genuine. It was a final, complete admission that my rational, ambition-driven path was the correct one. They acknowledged that her value system was entirely flawed. It was the absolute closure I needed. I accepted their apology gracefully. I told them I held no resentment, only a quiet focus on my future. I wished them well and left the dinner. I reflected on the experience during my long flight back to London. The core lesson was simple and powerful. Never let a partner use a lie or a threat of emotional blackmail to control your life's direction. Vela's demand that I stay was not an expression of love. It was a demand for me to remain a predictable source of funding. Her mockery and her attempted blackmail were designed to deflate my self-worth and keep me compliant. I learned that true self-respect means quietly acting on your potential, regardless of external validation. My decision to leave was the only logical response to her emotional manipulation and contempt. I did not leave out of anger. I left out of self-preservation and calculated ambition. I chose the massive, challenging future she rejected. The revenge was simply the visible consequence of my success. She lost everything she valued, status, wealth, and security, by prioritizing her own fragile comfort and arrogant belief that I would never leave. She missed the opportunity to join me in building an extraordinary life. I am not a vengeful man. I am a rational man. I created a new life that is secure, meaningful, and incredibly rewarding. I am with a partner, Anya, who values my intellect and shares my drive. We are constantly pushing each other to grow. My career is at the top of the world. I am happy. I am peaceful. I am fulfilled. I built this. I earned this.